Hello and warm wishes to all my fellow Americans, wherever you live, whoever you love, and whatever you believe. My name is John Russo, and this is Stranded in Centerfield. If you are a reader of America's well-established newspapers, or if you are someone who regularly watches one of the major television news outlets other than Fox, you have spent the past 5 years listening to a parade of pundits trashing President Donald Trump. They were horrified by his lies. They were terrified at the danger he posed to national security. And they fell over each other for new ways to say that the Trump administration was unprecedented in its shattering of our constitutional norms. Oceans of crocodile tears were shed for how Donald Trump was destroying America. Barrels of ink, both real and virtual, were used to print thousands upon thousands of hand-wringing opinion essays warning readers of the threat that Donald Trump posed to the American Republic. And while all of that may or may not have been true, those pundits, those writers, the media investors and their corporate masters then looked at their bank accounts and balance sheets and presumably found solace in the incredible profits they made selling existential anxiety to all of us here in America. The mainstream media loves pointing the finger of blame for the rise of Trumpism at those less educated working class Americans who have devoted themselves politically to President Trump. But it was that same legacy media that created Donald Trump as a political figure. Why, from the very moment he began his long-shot bid for the presidency, Donald Trump was gifted nonstop coverage by the mainstream media. One media study valued that free media earned by the Trump campaign from its start in June of 2015 to February of 2016 during the primaries as being worth in excess of $2 billion. Another study showed that once the primary season had winnowed down to John Kasich, Ted Cruz, Bernie Sanders, and Hillary Clinton, as well as Donald Trump received more media coverage than the other four candidates combined. Now, after he was sworn in as president, the print and televised media continued with nonstop campaign-style coverage of Donald Trump. According to data published by the Columbia Journalism Review, cable news has given President Trump twice as much airtime per day on average as it gave to President Barack Obama from 2010 to 2012, which was in fact the lead up to Barack Obama's reelection. For those who might think that this overwhelming exposure is due primarily to wall-to-wall coverage by Fox News, well, the network that consistently gives Donald Trump the most airtime is not Fox. It's actually MSNBC. Now, you might argue that CNN, MSNBC, and the other traditional news outlets had to expose every Trump outrage and fact-check every Trump lie. But to do that, those broadcasters had to first repeat the misinformation itself, and often viewers end up remembering the lie, forgetting the correction, and attributing their misinformation to the news outlet that tried to fact-check the lie. Psychologists actually have a name for this. It's called the illusory truth effect. Those historians familiar with how totalitarian states utilized propaganda through the radio in the 1930s in order to hypnotize entire national populations into becoming death cults have other and more frightening names for it. Now, he may not like what he calls the lamestream media, but I'm certain that as someone who is a public relations master, Donald Trump knows how much he owes to his supposed enemies at places like the Washington Post, the New York Times, CNN, and MSNBC. Goodness knows they owe an awful lot to him, because while local journalism is dying out, the national newspapers have seen tremendous increases in their subscriptions over the Trump years. The New York Times, for example, doubled its subscriptions in 2016 alone. Other print outlets, which had been stagnating in terms of readership, for example, the Washington Post, the Boston Globe, and the New Yorker, those outlets saw huge increases in the subscriptions they were getting during that same period. And as for the televised news services, I can remember a time when great journalistic organizations like CBS News proudly lost money to gain the prestige that came with providing Americans in-depth news coverage from all over the world. Now, television news has come to mean studios stuffed with talking heads, often doing little more than venting their outrage at the meaning of the precious little actual reporting that's being presented to the viewers. According to Forbes magazine, in late 2018, CNN reported $1.5 billion of profit on revenues of just $2.3 billion totally. Apparently, providing Americans with a daily dose of anger and head-shaking regret generates much better margins than spending money having news bureaus actually digging for stories around the world, like CNN used to do. The other cable news giants have also become much more profitable as a result of the Donald Trump show. Over the past several weeks, the Trump campaign's delusional claims about the 2020 election have dominated the news cycle. In reporting that legal train wreck, pretty much every news outlet I have discussed and criticized here today has speculated about what President Trump will do once he leaves office. Often those same pundits are solemnly intoning that they hope he won't shatter the political process by throwing Twitter bombs at the new administration and scaring Republican cowards like Lion Ted Cruz and little Marco Rubio into continued loyalty to Trumpism. The print media are publishing every day saying they want Trump to go away. The cable news media are pontificating on our screens every night saying they want the country to move on from Donald Trump. Do you believe them? Will they really move on from the profitability of the nonstop fetishizing of a reality show figure who just recently, and with good reason, called himself the Golden Goose? And if those media outlets don't move on, will Americans finally change the channel? That's it for this week. Thanks for watching. Please leave your civil comments and suggestions below. This is John Russo saying, I'm not stranded, and neither are you. There are millions of us Americans standing together here in Centerfield. Until next week.